Today we have ourselves a fun one. We have a septic system that has not been touched in 24 years. I know, it sounds like a wild time. But what we're gonna do today is we're gonna pop open all the lids, we're gonna look to make sure everything's doing what it's supposed to do, and we're gonna see how much damage does 24 years of neglect do to your septic. Let's get into it. First thing we're gonna look at is our access points. We can see here that we have our PVC clean out. That looks like it might have got hit by a lawnmower at some point, a little busted up on that side. Not the end of the world. And we have ourselves our manhole riser. So we're gonna have to get our shovel to kind of get some of that grass off of there, pop it open and see what's inside. So we have our probe so we can probe out the edges of the tank here in a second. Let's go ahead and pop this bad boy off. Yep, comes right on up. All right, so now we'll kick this sod right off. Just looks like it's a little overgrown. So we'll kick the sod off here real quick. That way we can pop open the lid. So we'll lift up the lid here real quick. Boom. Boom. Now you can see that a lot of the soil is getting into this area. So let's talk about this, all right? We have our manhole riser, which is gonna be these rings. The issue is we got soil getting inside. The reason soil is getting inside is because this ring shifted and it's not watertight. So you can see it's just a flat edge. And you can see right on this side where the soil is coming from. So what happens is every time it rains, all that water is gonna pull the soil into here and gonna get on top of this lid. So let's go ahead and open this lid up real quick. We might need to get the shovel just to get the dirt off so we can actually pick it up. All right, let's go ahead and lift real quick. Oh, would you look at that? We got ourselves some nice old concrete, basically making a new ceiling. So, all right, so there's a little concrete wall that's preventing us from getting in. So we're just gonna chip a little bit of it away so we can actually see into the tank the way we ought to be able to see into the tank. This is not damaging the tank in any way. This is basically just gonna be there so that way when you install this, you punch it out and then put the lid on top. So let's go ahead and knock this out the rest of the way. There we go. Now we can actually see into the tank. So we'll grab our flashlight, mirror, see what we got going on inside. All right, let's see here. Concrete back baffle, cool. Concrete walls look pretty good. Concrete front baffle. Okay, so the front baffle is going to be inside of here. Essentially what it is a stop. So that way when you flush the toilet, all the water is going to come through that white pipe into the tank. And so what will happen is this baffle prevents a lot of that debris from stirring up the rest of the stuff in the other side of the tank. There's an identical one of these on the back side to prevent debris that floats from getting into the drain fields. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this probe right here, measure out where the tank edges are. From there, what we're able to do is dig down to that back lid, pop it open, and then be able to see what that baffle looks like and what the piping itself looks like. So there should be an edge over here, here, and over here. So the tank lid should be roughly right where the probe's sitting. After that, we're going to put some water into the tank to make sure that everything is flowing out to the drain fields. So let me go ahead and probe out these edges, and I'll see you in 2 seconds. Okay, so we've got all of our edges marked. So we got one edge here, here, and here. So what we're gonna do in a second is we're gonna grab our shovel and we're gonna dig right there. There should be a 12 by 12 lid that matches the one on the front right here. So I'll see you as soon as I get done digging this hole. Now we've got our edges probed out, we're gonna take our water and a bucket, and then we're gonna time it real quick to figure out how much water is actually coming in to this system. So we got our bucket, start our stopwatch, and we're gonna watch it fill. The purpose of this is so that way we can calculate how much water is going into the tank, so that way we don't overdo it. As you can see, this water is a little orange. This area does have high iron, not something that's totally surprising. So we'll let this go for a few more seconds. When you're trying to figure out your flow rate, you just take a known volume and a stopwatch. This particular circumstance, 5-gallon bucket, because they're readily available, and then we can do some math. So about 30 seconds to fill that bucket, so we know that's 10 gallons per minute. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put this into the tank, ideally the front, and we're gonna leave it in there for a little bit to make sure that the water is flowing to the drain fields evenly. Now that we have the back lid open, you can see we had to dig a little bit. A little square lid right here. We can see that we have our baffle exposed. The outlet baffle is going to be this concrete wall on the inside of this tank. The purpose of it is to prevent debris from getting into the outlet line, which is going to be over here. Every septic system is going to have an outlet baffle. It'll also have an inlet baffle. Like I said a minute ago, the inlet baffle is there strictly just to slow everything down, so that way when you flush a toilet, you're not stirring up the pot inside of the tank. The outlet baffle is to prevent all that floating debris from getting into the outlet line, causing an issue with the drain fields or the distribution box. Now, we know this particular tank has not been pumped in quite a while. The reason this is a problem is no matter how good you are with your system, a little bit of debris is going to work its way into the drain fields. We refer to this as biomat. Biomat is the nasty stuff, real sticky, that gets inside of the trench and basically causes it to fail. If you don't pump your tank enough, more of that debris will work its way into the system. So, we know this has not been touched in about 24 years. We know that that scum layer looks pretty thick, but let's show you a little bit about what is the baffle doing, and then we'll circle back to how much solids are actually in this tank. All right, so we can see that we have a nice thick scum layer in here. As you can tell, the chunks of concrete that were from this entry point are just resting on top of it. We'll get that pumped out here in a little bit, but you see the stuff on top of the water versus the stuff on top of that water. Look again. And once more. That's how we know that the baffle's doing its job. Over time, that concrete baffle will eventually corrode and fall off. Sewer gas is really, really corrosive. So the most common defect I find on septic systems is that baffle's missing. If it falls off, no big deal. You just put a PVC one on the back, problem solved, and you're good to go for basically forever. PVC is not going to get affected by the corrosive gases that come off of sewage. Now we know that there's a lot of junk in this tank, so we need to get it pumped out, but I think the next step's gonna be figure out where the distribution box is, and let's measure see how many solids are actually in this tank. In order to check the solids in the tank, we're gonna need this device right here. We refer to this as a sludge judge. Basically what it is a pole with a ping pong ball at the bottom. We stick it into the water, ping pong ball closes up the pipe, we pull it up, and we can measure how many solids are in the system. The camera, we're gonna use that to figure out where the distribution box is. Makes it where we can actually kind of figure out where the drain fields are a little bit faster. So let's go ahead, pop this bad boy open, measure our sludge. We're gonna measure the back, the middle, and the front to make sure that we know exactly what's going on. We'll pull the water out of the system here in a few minutes. The purpose of running this was to make sure everything's draining correctly. So that way we know when we put the camera in, we're not gonna find anything crazy or wild. So we'll use this to basically wash off our sludge judge, so that way it doesn't get too funky in the back of the car. So what we're gonna do is pop this bad boy open. Okay. So we'll start up front. Yeah, so this thing is thick. Yeah, you can feel it. We're pushing right through all that sludge. From blue edge to blue edge is 5 foot. This is a thick one for sure. So thick that that ping pong ball is plugged up with all sorts of junk. You see that bit of wad of toilet paper right there? Yeah, that's not what we want to see. Let's go ahead and get this off. Toss it in the middle, hopefully get a better draw. So let's see what we got going on this side. Ooh, that's a thick scum layer. I told you, I'm actually pushing down on this kind of hard. I told you it's a bad idea not to pump your tank. Okay, whew, we got through that thick scum layer. Let's clean this off here real quick so we can get an actual read of the system. I think we might actually have to suck up a little bit of water to clear out our ping pong ball. That is a thick tank for sure. All right, let's see if we can get to the bottom. Okay. This is for those of you who say that you never need to pump a septic tank. For sure, you do. There's so much sludge in here, you can't even get the ball to sit at the bottom of the pipe. So we done the front, we done the middle. Let's go ahead and do the back here real quick. Yeah, same situation. So you can see that discoloration. So each of those white lines is a foot. So we got about 2 and some change feet of water or sludge in the system. So we'll take it back to this side. We don't want to have any of that junk going in the outlet line. So what we'll do is we will dump it back in the middle. So let's take this hose, clean this off, put this away, and then what we'll do is toss the camera in the pipe, see where she's going. First, we're going to take this on over to the side. Now we have the hose out of the way. We can see water still flowing pretty good. We're going to put on our gloves just so we don't get poop on our hands, because that's kind of gross. All right, so we got our gloves on. Let's get our camera. We're gonna toss it down the hole and see where she goes. Okay. Oh, looks like our camera has forgotten what day it is. So let's go ahead and reset the time here real quick. That way we can actually see what we're looking at. Oh, I guess my up button doesn't work, so I guess we're going down. All right. All right, well, we got that all figured out, even though it wants us to have the wrong date. So we're just gonna push this through real quick, figure out where our box is. We don't see any staining on the pipes, so that's good. Now we're inside of our distribution box. We'll turn on our locating device, and we'll figure out where this bad boy's hiding. All right, we got our locating wand. We've got our camera set to locate. Let's turn this bad boy on, figure out where we're hiding. I'm gonna walk in circles here for a second. Yep, there we go. So we'll follow it to the circle. And once we get all 4 of the balls in the middle, 3 foot, 6 inches, right here is our box. So that means the drain fields should go this way. So now what we'll do is we'll grab our long probe, we'll probe where the drain field should be, see if we see any debris or solids. With the tank, super important not to be putting that sludgy stuff in there because it does cause some problems. So now that we've gone ahead and probed out our drain fields, we found that they're dry. That's good, that's what we want to see. But just because they're dry does not mean that you have been neglecting the system. People will say that a functioning septic system does not need to be pumped. Very wrong, right? This has been studied over and over by multiple different universities, particularly the University of Maryland. If you're not pumping your system, what you're doing is you're allowing debris to get into your drain fields, which will shorten the lifespan of your system. A functional septic system should easily last 40 years. If you don't take care of it, you might only get 20 or 30 years out of it. Now, granted, that's a long time. It's going to take a while before it fails. But I don't know about your area. In our area, septic systems are easily between $10,000 to $30,000 for just the drain fields. If you have an innovative system, advanced treatment, pumps, any of those things, you can easily be anywhere from $30,000 to $70,000 once all said and done. So you want to take care of your investment. It's like a car that you don't get to see or drive or get to play with. It's all below the surface, and it doesn't really help the value of your home. So once you put it in there, it's kind of like a driveway. It'll look nice, it'll work nice, but doesn't mean you're going to get that money back when you go to sell the house. So spend that $300, get your system pumped out regularly. Don't put stuff down there that doesn't belong getting flushed down there, like that flushable wipe that we saw a second ago when we took a sludge reading. Flushable wipes do cause problems and clogs. Same thing with grease, feminine products, flushable wipes, all that good stuff is not supposed to go into your septic system. The only thing that goes in there is going to be human waste, toilet paper. That's it. If it's not one of those two things, it does not go down your toilet. You will have problems. This one is working. That's good. That's what we want to see. The problem is they haven't taken care of it. So we need to get them pumped out. Once they get pumped out, they should be good to go for quite a while. We usually recommend getting it pumped every 2 to 5 years. So that way you can make sure somebody who knows what they're looking at gets eyeballs on this system. In 10 years, they could start having some problems, and septic systems fail slowly. So if you have somebody looking at it regularly, it will slowly fail. You'll be able to see when things start to go wrong, and that gives you an opportunity to fix it or budget for that replacement, so that way you're not smacked with a $40,000 bill out of nowhere. Hopefully you found this helpful. Hopefully you found this informative. Let me know below. How often do you pump your septic system? I'm curious. Anyway, I have videos posted every day on the world of wells, septic, and all sorts of things that come along with owning a house and maintaining it. Feel free to leave a comment, hit a like button, or even subscribe. Till next time, guys.